Do I look sorry to you? This video is brought to you by Extreme Tees. Click on the link below. Make sure you put Kevin in the promo code and you'll get a 20% discount. But first, a quick commercial. Spring is here and it's time for a dust off. The mower needs sorting, the garden is wrecked, and the barbecue needs some help. Now, I don't know about you. You might enjoy doing this work. I know I don't. But if you don't and you can't do it, you're going to have to pay somebody to do it. And you know what? That takes money. Might as well face it. Putting money aside for retirement is the only way you're going to get out of doing that lawn, right? That way, you can visit the kids, take that long hike, play a little golf. Yeah, just like all your friends are doing. And Noble Gold can help you with that by investing in precious metals along with your other investments. Gold or a silver IRA is the best way to do it. And this month, Noble Gold is gifting a genuine rare Carson City minted Morgan silver dollar with every qualifying IRA or 401k you do. So get in touch with the experts at Noble Gold. That's right, www.noblegoldinvestments.com. 887-646-5347. Call 887-646-5347. And again, that is noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, back to the video. What's going on, America? Kevin from Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. And yes, that's the question that I have for all white liberals. Do I look sorry to you? Do I look like I can't function proper in society? Do I look like the person you got to dummy down everything to kind of adjust to my limitations? Reason I'm upset about this and I'm asking this question is because from a very ignorant standpoint, white liberals are racist. They don't realize it. But if they really strip it down to its bare scruples and they ask a black person about some of the narratives that they have, some of the, misconceptions, the beliefs about black folks and all their atrocities and stuff that they've endured, you'll find that the problems that they think black people have are not real problems that black people have. These are problems that white liberals think black people have. And unfortunately, we have a large group of politicians and the media who sets these narratives. Now, I'm not saying that some black people who weren't thinking about some of this stuff, after it's been shoved into their heads, start to think that this is a problem. But if you go to the black community before all of these narratives pop up, you'll find that the stuff that I've watched over the last 5 years of black people getting mad at, I'm going, wait a minute, you mad for nothing. No one was walking around complaining about things like this.
White privilege. Think about it. Whose flesh tone is this? I have brown Band-Aids in my classroom. I had to special order them. They're twice as much as these, and they're hard to find, and they're frequently out of stock. But when I hand a brown child a white Band-Aid, I am literally adding insult to injury, and I refuse to do that in my classroom.
Did y'all see that? This lady, who's a white liberal, and I'm sure in her mind she's thinking, I'm doing good. I'm showing all of these black people that I care about them and I'm sensitive to their struggles. Lady, Band-Aid colors was not a struggle for black people. In my whole entire life, I've never had one black person say, you know what would make me feel like I'm included, make me feel like, I'm not being discriminated against, is Band-Aids didn't match my complexion. Maybe this lady don't realize all of the multiple shades of black people. If you get into that, now you better buy yourself all kind of Band-Aids. You better get you a high yellow one. You better get you a coal black one. You better get you a cocoa brown one or a cinnamon brown one. They would be making Band-Aids for centuries trying to adjust to these white liberal narratives like Band-Aids are racist because they all come in a fleshy color. that resembles white skin. Unbelievable. Or what about this?
Election law?
It's an atrocity. The idea, if you want any indication that it has nothing to do with fairness, nothing to do with decency, they passed a law saying you can't provide water for people standing in line while they're waiting to vote. You don't need anything else to know that this is nothing but punitive, designed to keep people from voting.
It's sick. It's sick. Deciding in some states that you cannot bring water to people standing in line, waiting to vote. The Republican voters I know find this despicable. Republican voters.
A new giant voting omnibus bill that would, among other things, ban people from giving food and water to voters waiting in line.
It is going to make it illegal to give somebody this that's standing in line to vote.
They're now banning water being given to black people in lines. I mean, they don't say black people, but they might as well.
Law in Georgia could result in boycotts, including Major League Baseball potentially moving next year's All-Star game out of Georgia.
While a growing number of voting rights advocates are calling for a boycott of Georgia-based companies.
Do you believe that a boycott of Georgia is in order now that Brian Kemp has signed this law?
I absolutely do.
Wait a minute, Josh. In fact, it does say that it bans providing water or food to people at the polls. Why would that be? I mean, I know one of the arguments is, well, if people are at the polls, then an advocacy group can go and it's like you're near the election line and you're able to electioneer them. My gosh, people have been driving people to the polls of both parties for years. In a lot of African-American communities, the lines are longer because there are not enough polls in those communities. Are you really suggesting that it should be wrong to provide water or drinks to people waiting online to exercise their democratic franchise?
No, I'm not. What I'm suggesting is wrong is to suggest that the law does that.
Well, that's what the law says, Josh. That's what the law says, Josh.
It doesn't.
But to be clear, I mean, the law in Georgia, there's no question for interpretation. It makes it a misdemeanor offense to bring, if you are not a poll worker, to bring people food and water while they're waiting in line. And of course, we've seen very long lines in Georgia. And it's not just Georgia. There are efforts, Republican-led efforts, in 43 states to restrict voting in one way or another.
You see those men, there's no color in them. There's just pure white males trying to basically hold on to power with their life.
White privilege is how it happened. White privilege. We know why it happened, right? Because these are white people.
We must not be cowed by the terror unleashed by white men drowning in the deep end of racism, xenophobia, and misogyny.
White women have taken an active role in the maintenance of white supremacy.
White people actively participate in upholding systems of white supremacy.
President Biden is clearly fired up, upset about this new law in Georgia. His team and other critics say that black voters who helped him win there in Georgia, helped him get here to the White House, are being targeted with this new law and will be impacted the very most. The law limits ballot drop boxes, adds new requirements for mail-in voting, and makes it a crime for anyone other than a poll worker to offer food and water to voters waiting in line. President Biden saying the Department of Justice is looking into it.
Leftists are up in arms over a bunch of new laws in Georgia designed to protect election integrity because they say it'll force little old black ladies to stand in the sun sizzling like fried eggs and bacon for lack of water. The law is actually pretty basic stuff, like you have to show an ID to vote, which you can get from the state for free, and you can't stand on the sidewalk and give voters free stuff to try to coerce them into voting your way. Like I said, it's pretty basic. I'm talking about the actual law, not however CNN is paraphrasing it or whatever garbage Al Sharpton is spewing like a busted sewage pipe. I mean the verbatim text of the law. Quote, "No person shall solicit votes in any manner or by any means or method, nor shall any person distribute or display any campaign material, nor shall any person give, offer to give, or participate in the giving of any money or gifts, including but not limited to food and drink, to an elector." Nothing in this law prevents you from bringing water with you when you vote. Nothing in this law says you have to stand outside in the 287-degree Atlanta sun baking like a potato on the pavement because you can't cart in your own Aquafina. In fact, the law itself says the people running the polling location, which, if you're making the argument that these are in predominantly black areas, are most likely Democrats, have every legal right to set up an unmanned free water station where people waiting to vote can go if they're thirsty.
Y'all, this is ridiculous. So they're trying to make folks think that this law in Georgia is really focused on racism. And I want black folks to stop for a second and think about this. The liberal Democrat Party, the media has been using us. They have been using our past, our history to get their agenda passed. That's all they're doing. You think that these Democrats are really concerned about black folks standing in a line to vote and getting too hot and can't do it? Are we that weak? Do I look sorry to you? Do I look like I can't stand in a line for 2, maybe 3 hours and not have something to eat or drink? Not to mention they're lying about the law. They can set up water right over there. They just can't send poll workers out there to give it to you because they might influence you. So what they're really saying is black folks, because notice they exclude the white folks. I'm wondering to myself, now wait a minute. You're assuming that all black folks stand in those lines. No white people live in those areas? And if they do, for you to push this narrative, you know what I would think? I would think I'd look at one of the poll lines or the voting lines, all black people in it. Other one should be all white people. And what I should be able to see in this narrative is that you got guys over there in the white line going up and down with carts going, get your cold water. We got hot dogs and water for the white folks. Not you black people, though. Not you. You don't get nothing. You don't see that. Show me that this law is different in other areas of Georgia where there's not a high population of black people. See, for you to push the race narrative, show me the contrast. They're simply saying, like Joe Scarborough, they didn't say it was because of black folks, but you get the picture. No, I don't get the picture. I get the picture you're trying to paint, making black folks look that sorry, that weak. That right there is offensive. You're telling me you can't stand there for a minute? We don't have the intelligence to bring some water. We don't have the intelligence to know that it's hot in Georgia. So if I'm going to the poll, I got to get there, maybe bring an umbrella, maybe bring some water, maybe bring, a snack in my purse or pocket or something like that. But yet they're trying to push this loosey-goosey agenda so that it will, open up all kind of possibilities when it comes down to voting. However, with that being said, you're using us to look sorry. You're using us by making people think, and that's black folks too, they got to wake up. But making white liberals think this is serious. This is a serious issue in the black community. We're sitting back going, man, how do we ever get through voting all of these years without folks coming up to us and giving us water? It's unbelievable. That right there is a stereotype and it's racist. So all the white liberals who think, yeah, I got to get on board with this and fight against injustice. No, you're not. You're assisting stupidity. You're assisting stereotypes and assumptions. You're assisting folks that have a bigger agenda, and they're using black folks to silence any opposition. They're using the fact that they just sling racism on anybody who says, well, wait, that doesn't make sense. You're telling me black folks can't just walk right over to the cart? They can be left out, grab them a bottled water and go right back in line? That's what you're telling me? See, they're giving you mis and disinformation along with stereotyping black folks, making us look sorry. And do I look sorry to you? No. And I'm not going to let you be sorry. When they come up with these narratives and black people don't push back, you give them the green light. See, another example.
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccine.
Okay, you see that? Joe Biden talking about that black folks don't know how to get on the internet to find out where they need to go to get the vaccination. Now, me personally, I'm never going to get it. Never going to get it. But still, they're trying to tell us that we don't know where to get online and go get this vaccination. Yeah, sometimes they don't know how to get on the internet and stuff like that. And I'm going, do you realize how degrading that is? Do you realize how stereotypical and racist that is? If you hang out with black folks just a couple minutes, you will find out that they are masters of using the internet. So while I'm at work and while I'm at play, while I'm in the movies, while I'm sitting down with my husband or wife, I'm always on the internet. But for some reason, I don't even know how to surf and find out where's the nearest vaccination center. I don't know how to do that. All the other stuff I know how to do. I'm a master at Instagram. I can go ahead and do Google. I can do all of that stuff. But I just got a mental block when it comes down to finding out where these vaccinations are. Stereotypes, that right there is racist. Now, I would say prejudice, okay? It's not that these folks hate black folks, because racist really means you despise people for their race. However, these are prejudices or really manufactured prejudice. And unfortunately, the unlearned, naive white liberal mind think that supporting these narratives shows that black people, we're on your side, man. We're fighting for you. Now, that might fly with some ignorant black people, but not with me. You're not fighting with me if you're assisting politicians and to making us be sorry. You're not fighting for black folks when you are teaming up, pushing agendas from the same party that are responsible for a lot of the atrocities and conditions of the black community right now. And one of those are making black people feel and look like they're sorry. Doing things like this.
About a dozen new state laws will affect schools across California. Starting next school year, it will be illegal for public schools in the state to suspend students in 1st through 5th grade for willfully defying teachers or administrators. Then from 2021 through 2025, it will be temporarily extended to kids in grades 6 through 8. Supporters say suspensions for willful defiance are disproportionately used against students of color.
There you go. So now all of a sudden, instead of expecting black folks to rise up to the same level as little white kids, California decides, let's just lower the expectations. That's what we should do. Let's make it so black people don't have to be accountable when it comes down to their behavior. Let's go ahead and deal with the symptom and not the cause. So while you say we're not suspending black kids anymore, well, how about you take your butt down to the inner city and find out why these kids are getting suspended? Because I got news for these white liberals. It doesn't start when these kids get to school. It starts right there in the home. It starts wherever a large portion of black people have been stuffed into democratically ran areas, given no access to break out their environment and explore the world to know that, hey, outside of my own little ecosystem here, these behaviors are unacceptable. So now you stick them down there. And then when you start seeing a manifestation of behavior that is negative, instead of saying, how about we get them out of these conditions? Start teaching them, that, hey, these are acceptable things in society if you want to be successful. You can't be sitting in the classroom and sock somebody in the nose, get on your cell phone, can't be cussing at teachers. All of those things that could get one suspended. But yet, with their, I guess, default is, well, let's just not suspend anybody. Let's dummy down the standards because the black kids, they just can't live up to them. And then, of course, it's things like this. Here we go again. Here we go again with the stereotypes about black people. So now all of a sudden, this big fad for black people to be excused for certain behaviors. Did you hear the lady right there with Michael Knowles talking about even if black people do commit some type of crime, then it's still not their fault. So what she's doing, and she doesn't even know it, is making black people appear to be like primates, no self-control, no social awareness, uncontrollable, just impulsive. Whatever pops up in our head, we got to do it. And we have no choice whatsoever. So even if somehow a black person do what those two girls did, which is attacked this guy who was a foreigner and kill him, instead of holding them accountable, you start looking for ways to excuse their behavior. See, that right there is unexcusable. You know what I see? When I see that, I see animals. See, I see people who work with lions, like those two brothers out in Vegas. I forget their names. But the one dude ends up getting attacked by the tiger. And then, of course, later on, he doesn't blame the tiger. He blames himself. He's like, I can't blame the tiger because, the tiger, even though it decided to just retaliate and eat me and try to kill me, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. No, it's greater than him. And I'm thinking to myself, so, how about you blame the tiger instead of talking about it's not his fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. I shouldn't have got that close to him. I shouldn't have did whatever. Don't make excuses for that. The tiger wanted to kill you and eat you. So go ahead and call it for what it is. When you see black folks that unfortunately lives a life of crime, decides to make bad choices, whether they're young adults or adults, don't be trying to find ways to excuse their behavior, because what you're going to do is enable it. What you're going to do is to make them live a life of victimization, live a life of being sorry. And when you start showing folks that there's ways you can get out of trouble based on calling everything racist, you're giving them an excuse to be sorry. That's what you're doing. Some folks just got to say, I cannot point the finger, I got to point the thumb. And when white liberals try to excuse certain behaviors, you're not assisting black folks in trying to live up to the standard of a pretty basic society. Is not like, everybody got to be a rocket scientist. Don't hurt folks. Don't fight. Don't shoot. Don't kill. Try to follow the laws. Simple as that. But yet they're making excuses for black folks that don't do that, because they bought into this liberal narrative that black folks, they can't get right. It's greater than them. And then, of course, there's things like this.
And neither has Delta, which, despite being an airline and not a super PAC, has also decided to condemn Georgia's elections bill. According to the CEO of Delta, people in the black community are upset about the law, so of course Delta is very upset too.
This is about protecting the voices of our people. When I speak to our people, particularly within the black community, we're here in Atlanta, we've got a very, very large black employee base. Almost universally, they are hurt by the law and the legislation that was enacted, and we need to make certain their voices are heard. We spent a lot of time in the last year reaching out to those most vulnerable and telling them that we hear them, that we see them, that their voices matter. And if we can't stand with them now, when will we?
Yeah. So he's just reading something the HR department wrote for him, but it doesn't seem like he's paused to think through the implications here. So Delta Airlines operates because U.S. taxpayers and the Congress, lawmakers, our democracy allow Delta to. You can't just start an airline and run it. You need the cooperation of the public. But part of the deal is if you're Delta Airlines or some other big company benefiting from all the good things that America offers, is you're not allowed to override the democracy just because you're rich. Delta says its, quote, very large black employee base is almost universally hurt by the law. Really? Did you take a poll, Delta? Remarkably, and this is amazing, that's not what Delta was saying about the very same law a few days ago before the Biden administration leaned on them. At the time, Delta issued a statement declaring, quote, the legislation improved considerably during the legislative process and expands weekend voting, codifies Sunday voting, and protects a voter's ability to cast an absentee ballot without offering a reason. Delta even at the time praised the law's protections for ballot drop boxes. Quote, for the first time, drop boxes have also been authorized for all counties statewide, and poll workers will be allowed to work across county lines. Okay, before we even get into how they changed their view, again, this is an airline. Why are they weighing in on a voting law? Who do you think you are, Delta Airlines? We should shut you down. Now Delta's decided the law doesn't meet its standards. Requiring voter identification, says Delta, is Jim Crow. But wait a minute, you might be wondering, doesn't Delta Airlines require photo ID in order to board its planes? Ooh, that sounds like Jim Crow. Why isn't that racist? Because it's not. Shut up. One of the Democratic Party's top election law enforcers, a trollish man called Mark Elias, tried to answer that question on Twitter. Quote, the new Georgia law will require voters to submit ID to vote by mail, he wrote. If they use their driver's license, they need to provide the number. One of the two numbers below is correct. If they put the other down, it will be rejected. Are you sure you would pick the right one? Elias posted a photograph of a sample driver's license below his tweet, and the implication was pretty clear. According to Mark Elias, black people can't find their driver's license number even when it's clearly identified on the driver's license card. Mark Elias, like Delta, just doesn't think they can read it.
Y'all see? All of these people who assumes black people, they just don't know where to go get an ID to vote. Do you realize that the liberal Democrats are using this narrative not because they're worried about black people not being able to get IDs. They want to use that narrative of discrimination, racism, and all of that stuff so that other people that they want to vote for them don't need to get an ID. But yet, black folks have to have an ID for everything. So now, if you want to roll with that narrative, then let's just scrap IDs, period. When I come to the White House, don't be asking me for no ID. When I go into the bank, man, what you doing? I told you I'm Joe Biden. Well, sir, can you prove that? Nah, man. You know what? You're racist for asking me to show an ID to prove that mess. See, this is what I'm talking, systemic racism. What are you talking about? Black people know how to get IDs. And if you don't have one because you're, just don't want one. That's what it comes down to. If you don't have one to go vote, then that means you don't want to vote because it's not a fact of you just not knowing. Please, someone show me the black person that goes, man, I would have voted, but couldn't find out where to go get an ID. Dude, you're 38. So for all those years, you never figured out where those IDs are coming from? No? Okay. See, yeah, your problem is bigger than you not knowing where to get an ID if you say, I can't vote because I didn't know where to get an ID. That right there might just be greater than you. And it ain't the fact that you don't know. It's the fact that something ain't right up here. And now, as all of the years I've been black, growing up in black neighborhoods, hanging out with black folks, I've never heard one black person say, man, dude, I would have voted, man, but I don't know where to go get an ID. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see how offensive this is? Do you see how degrading this is when you assume black folks can't get IDs? They're using black folks to push their agenda so other folks don't need IDs. Wake up, black people. We know how to get IDs. We're not that just walking around waiting for white liberals to save us. I don't know where to go, what to do, how to behave. I need white liberals to help me. Now, for the regular white liberal, I know you think you're doing black people a favor, but you're not. What you're doing is unconsciously and ignorantly teaming up with politicians and globalists and the media who have a bigger agenda, but yet it can't be accomplished by just presenting an argument concerning their ideas, policies, and all that stuff. So what they choose to do is to say, well, let's not debate these issues. Let's insert an element that doesn't even need to be inserted by saying that a whole group of people who have a history of being mistreated or slavery, which came from the Democrat Party, let's insert this narrative so that instead of people debating and me having to explain why black people can't stand in a line without water being brought over to them, instead of me having to explain why black people don't know how to get on the internets and go find where to get the shot, which I don't recommend. But anyway, instead of me explaining why black people don't know how to get IDs to go vote, what I'm going to do is say, by you expecting this, the basic minimum expectation in 2021, by you expecting this, you're racist. You're part of the problem. And I'm saying, no, you guys are part of the problem. Because what you're doing is saying black people are sorry. And black people ain't sorry. We know how to get things done. We're not that fragile to where you think Band-Aid colors will break us. We're not that fragile to where you think some old ancient statue is going to be the decider of whether black people feel like we're fighting against racism. These are problems that weren't problems, but white liberals, Democrats, and the media has made these things a problem without going into the black community and saying, hey guys, is it a problem with these Band-Aids? Or is this a problem that you guys can't get IDs to vote? They don't ask us. They come up with these narratives and they throw it on us, which guess what? Is a stereotype and makes the innocent, naive white liberal who's thinking they're fighting with us, what they're doing is offending us. That's what you're doing. What you're doing is making us look like we are primitive and we don't know where to go, what to do, how to behave. Now, dang it, I know something about black folks. If they want to do right, they'll do right. If they want to get their tails up and go down to the pole, just like they will make sure they get their tails up and go out to the club, dang on it, they will do it. And when you come telling me they can't do it, you must be crazy. Apparently, you ain't spent enough time with black folks. See, because they will rob Peter to pay Paul. Girl, I don't care. I need this dress tonight. Is the all-white party. Well, did you pay your rent, girl? Look, that can wait. I got to go kick it tonight. Anyway, God bless y'all. Send this to all these white liberals out there who thinking we're fighting with you guys. No, you're not. Now, as I'm sitting here talking, the white man next to me playing some hard rock, whatever, in his car. Dang on it. Turn that mess all the way down. I feel like the reverse of back in the day when they stereotype black people. These black guys pull up on the side of me and all you hear is boom, boom. I can't even hear myself think, hon. I can't hear myself think. Well, right now, I feel the same way. I'm like, you turn that mess down. First of all, put some bass in there. All I hear is treble. Guitars. Ding, 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 ding. Where's the 808? Anyway, God bless you. God bless America. Don't forget, check out Extreme Tees, my sponsor. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and the notification button. Just sitting there. Just sitting there. Been sitting in the car forever. How about you just leave, man? Do I need to get out there and hit him with some racism? You know what? You playing that white music is offensive to me. You're shoving it all down my throat. Anyway, you see how crazy liberals get. Anyway, God bless y'all. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner. Take care. Now, see what y'all done did. Not only are they using these narratives to make black people look sorry and to get their political agenda across, but now they've trained white liberals to use black people so they can be sorry. Don't be blaming the fact that you got a lack of discipline and not the dedication and commitment to hit that gym on black people. So now a study to identify obesity or fat is racist because it didn't include black people in it. Now, see, here's the crazy part about liberalism and the ideology and the whole mind frame. If you reverse that and say there was a study done, but it was only on black people, then she would be like, that's racist too. And I'm going, oh, okay, here we go. Racism for all occasions. Whatever your thing is, you just assume, as long as I can say this is also racist, then no one holds me accountable. No one questions my behavior or my decisions or my thinking because I done threw out the race narrative to block all dialogue, to block all reasoning, to block all evidence, statistics, all of that. I'm just slinging that out there, and here you are getting tripped up because you thought you were talking about obesity, and now all of a sudden this person slings racism into the conversation. You're like, what? Yeah, that's messed up. We probably need to fight against that. No, what we need to fight against is you not having the self-control and the commitment to put stuff down and not eat it, period. You see, guys? So now they're making us look sorry, and other people are learning how to use us to be sorry. Check out Extreme Tees, my sponsor. The link is below this video. If you click on it and put Kevin in the promo code, you'll get a 20% discount. And finally, don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button. And if you'd like to donate to Kevin and Kevin's Corner, there's links below this video to do that as well. Okay, God bless you and God bless America.